Hello,
Hello,
Mark. How are ya?
I'm doing well. Hello, honey.
What's your last name?
My last name is pronounced Krawcheck. It's
Oh,
like
I was so
like
off.
no, that's quite all right. It's
Wow.
yeah, I've had to deal with it all my life. So,
Wow, wow. It's lovely though. Where are you from?
I'm actually in the middle of Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
you are. Okay.
yes,
Stay safe out
so
there.
yeah, we are staying safe.
Yeah.
Luckily, the city that we're in isn't that big, so
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so that's good. But how are you? I wanted to start off
Oh,
asking how are you doing in all of this, and how are
I-
things?
I'm fine.
Hmm.
It's definitely, it's amazing how you can adapt to anything in life. And if I'd known in March what this was going to turn into, I probably would have like my wrist. But I'm, yeah, I'm okay. I am. I actually, as it's getting worse, somehow I'm getting more calm with it. I know that doesn't make sense, but yeah, you just have to be smart about the whole thing.
Well, yeah, you be smart, and the joys of being the humans is that we do adapt fairly well. So,
Very true. Yeah. And who would have thought? I mean, it's just too freaky. It's like a bad sci-fi movie, really. It was going to end, right? I mean, one day. That's what I keep telling
hopefully,
myself. It has to. We can't, remember when we used to do things like just go to a coffee shop, like we can't do that. It's like it's crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah.
well, the thing I miss the most is going to the movie theater. I didn't realize just how much I would miss that until I can't do it anymore. And now oh,
Yeah. I know.
you
Listen,
know,
that I love going to the movies. They don't leave that, right?
it's the best experience. I've,
Truly.
I mean, that was always our family thing when I was young was we'd go to the movies,
Oh, yeah.
uh, yeah, so you're missing that a little bit, but it's just one of those things too. Well, I'm sure where you live as well, it's one of those things where I know I could probably go, but I just don't want to risk it. It's like,
It's all about relative risk, and
mhm,
that is not worth your risk. It is not.
no.
Yeah. Do you have children?
I do. I have two boys, actually. They're college age. One's 18 and one's 20. So,
Oh, you look so young.
well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Crazy. I just want to make sure it's turned off. It's so
Mhm.
funny how I can't tell age anymore. That's amazing. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, we miss the movies.
we do miss
With what you're doing, of course, it's a big part of your life, right? So
it has been, and this is my hobby. I have a day job, but yeah, I miss that element of being in the movies. But luckily, we still have streaming, versus what I had 20 years ago when I wouldn't have that. I could,
right. And we wouldn't be able to do this.
and we wouldn't be able to do this, and I wouldn't be able to talk to Honey Loren, folks, listeners, talking about the Sweet Taste of Souls. Just
Yeah.
went out on VOD last month, and you know, uh, I went into it pretty cold. I saw the trailer, and I was like, okay, I wanted to watch this, and I had a lot of fun with this, namely with your character, because I saw you showed up and uh remember first seeing you in the Vice Academy movies. So, see, seeing you show up here as Eleanor. Tell me, what was it about Eleanor that made you want to get into this role of the pie shopkeeper who traps souls?
It's so funny. It's like things kind of take a life on, when you start working on it.
Hmm.
And what I I knew this was gonna be very challenging, this role. But what I liked was that she's a well nuanced character while she's evil to the point of insane. I mean, when the first few seconds, she's crazy. And it's like so we watch it unfold. But thankfully the writer Felicity Mudgett. He gave us a nice backstory for this character so that while a lot of things aren't explained, at least we understand almost like how she got to be the way she got to be to some extent, letting this evil into her life because of her vulnerabilities. And I seeing her, like, she's on a downward spiral by
Mhm.
this time, and that's where we meet her. So I thought it would be challenging to make sure that this person stayed grounded in reality, and
Mhm.
that's so I could do it because I
Right.
couldn't do it otherwise. And that was a big challenge unto itself. But fortunately, I had a lot of support. I had the writing. I had the wonderful director Terry Ross there, and she
Mhm.
was very helpful, and we saw things on the same page. That was good, and she really helped me out a lot. So
Well, it comes across on screen, I mean, because if you wouldn't mind, my listeners may not, shame on you, not know the synopsis, but if
yeah.
you wouldn't mind, I always like getting in the words of my guest, what the film a bit is about.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. Well, it's about this. It's funny. I take it from my point of view, but
Yeah, no,
I
go
know
ahead.
as I see it, the story is really about this group of four people who are traveling they're a band, and they stop at a pie shop in a small town, and they meet this woman who runs the pie shop, who really is trapping souls inside of pictures, and has been doing it for 20 years. And we come to find out that there is an evil inherent in the shop itself that is that has invited her in, that she's let in,
Mhm.
and it comes from the trauma that she lived through, and so she's sort of a victim herself. And so basically it's her, we see her unwind as she's trapping these souls, and there eventually she figures out where the pain came from, why she became the way she became, and she's really like fighting an evil force that she let in, and she succumbs to it. So I mean, she has to. She did too many bad things. She can't live. You can't let her live, even though you can feel a little empathy for her
Mhm.
as the story unfolds, and you see that she was a victim of domestic abuse and terrible things like that. And at one time, she might have had a really okay life, but a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad decisions.
And that's what I kinda liked about the character was the different layers. She wasn't just, you know, she wasn't
Yeah.
just crazy for crazy sake. You had some motivation and as you mentioned, empathy. I actually felt for her. And, I was like, wouldn't be too bad to be trapped in a picture? They
you
didn't have
never,
to. What?
you never age in there. Time
Yeah.
stands still.
Never
Yeah,
you didn't have to eat really? Though I would get, hungry
for
staring at all the pies that you.
part. Wow. And it's so ironic because where they shot the movie was a place called Julian, California.
Mhm.
They're known for their pies
Oh,
in
no.
real life. People drive up to Julian. It's about 3 hours from my house. It's a
Mhm.
mountain town near San Diego, and I live in Los Angeles. And um, so that was so charming to be in this truly a mountain town. And I got to tell you, I didn't have one piece of pie the whole time I was there. Like, how did I miss that? So on the day I drove home, because I was there for a month, I stopped at a pie shop and I got a whole pie and I drove it home.
Nice.
Like, oh my gosh, this is so silly. But and there's every place on the main street there, there's like 10 pie shops.
Oh, are there really?
They're known for, I guess, their apple
Ah,
pie.
but
Just so
because you did
fun.
have a lot of cherry pies in this film. I mean, you went through a lot.
Yeah, we did. We did. And props to the people who put this together, that they would actually shoot in Julie in the pie town. It's
Mhm.
just crazy. It's so crazy how it all worked out. It
Uh,
was pretty wild.
Now, the cast you have, the ones playing the band members, they
Yeah.
seem to have a good chemistry with you as well. You all seem to have really played off each other well, with that. Did you have a lot of time, like, off screen to kinda spend time with each other to kinda get to know one another, or
We really didn't. I think
Mhm,
the four of them did a beautiful job together.
mhm,
They did a lot of improv. They worked a lot together. They were dynamic.
mhm,
They're wonderful actors, really. And um, I think they shot a day or so before me. They came up there. I don't know, but by the time I got there pretty early on. I take that back. I got them before
mhm,
them, and we really didn't spend a lot of time talking until the evenings because we
mhm.
all stayed in the house together
Sure.
in a great big house that production,
Mhm,
rented, and I had my own bedroom, I had my own bathroom, I had my own entrance in the back, so which I didn't use mostly. I used the front, but it was like it was that was crazy
mhm.
that you stay in a house with 30 people you don't know. It was like summer camp at night, talking to people.
Sure.
And it was looking back on it, it was fun. At the
Mhm.
time, I think I was just kind of overwhelmed. I had to go home and I stayed there the whole time. So I got to talk to them a little bit at night and
Mhm,
it was really fun. And they're all wonderful people. I'm still like in touch with people, which is sort of unusual. Once in a while that happens on a film, but
mhm.
it's kind of lovely that we all liked each other so much.
Well, and I think that affects the project in a positive way. It just comes across. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I that's one of the things is this film has charm even though there's bad things happening.
right. They and there's some, like, I think moments of comedy, like
Mhm,
sort of high comedy, which I love that they were able to embrace that
mhm,
because there's a lot of humor in terrible things.
mhm.
You gotta find the humor everywhere. And even in the worst things, you find the humor. And when it happened, we let it happen. So that
Mhm.
was cool.
Well,
It was fun.
it looked like it was fun, and your character was very charismatic. She I
Yeah.
I found her to be a very charismatic, villain, in a way. And in a little bit, especially when we got more of her backstory, I honestly, deep down, secret, I was kind of pulling for her. Just
Oh, yay. It was my goal to have her be understood like that,
Mhm,
you know, to so that people she was would feel sorry for her,
mhm,
really. Because I mean, you got to be nuanced in these characters, otherwise it's just sort of very flat, and
mhm,
it's easy to fall into that trap. And you don't want to do that. You want to make them real people, even though some of these stories it's like that could never happen, or could it? So I remember thinking to myself, every time every scene, I wanted to be very seductive because that's who she was,
mhm.
and to the point where I wanted to make every actor forget their line. A few times, especially it was so cute. It did work a few times, and it sounds like such a silly thing, but really, when you know this Eleanor, that's who she was. She
Mhm,
fell back on that. That's who she always was. And sometimes people they don't know how another way to relate than the way they did maybe in their 20s.
mhm,
Like that's how I used to do it. And that's the only way they know how to get there. And it's sort of that's kind of sad in itself. But um we find this person to be not manipulative but really coming from, I mean, yes, she's got a lot of anger problems, obviously. So I had to really find a way again to just make her real.
mhm.
I That was my goal. That was my goal. Yeah.
Eh,
So
well,
that was fun.
she did come off as real, and in fact, the whole, script, I think, comes off well because in Wisconsin, especially in the middle of Wisconsin, I know a lot of small towns. And your character and some of the characters that show up that are residents of this town felt like small town characters, you know?
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah,
Mhm,
thank you. That's exactly what they were going for, which I
mhm,
love. And yeah, because it's really different, even in a mountain town 3 hours from
mhm.
Hollywood. It's like a different world. It really is.
Well, and where I live, I'm 5 minutes from any farm. If I drive any 5 minutes in any way, I'll come across a farm field or a farm or a small farm town or, uh,
Yeah, I
so
love that. How
yeah,
fun is that?
and because in some films, they try to portray it, but usually they go overboard with the small town feel, like, they're
Yeah,
caricatures, but I didn't feel that with this, with your character or even the supporting characters from town.
I agree with you on that as
Yeah,
well. I mean,
yeah,
they were all very individual, and it was well cast.
mhm.
Really, really fun actors to work with. So open minded. It was really a good experience.
Now was there a collaboration on set, or did, Terry Ross did, they kinda hold you to the script?
We had to be held to the script a lot
Mhm,
um, on this one. Now it's
mhm,
not always that way, and with this one, yeah. And
mhm.
sometimes that's difficult too. It's just the way it is. Gosh, I have the kitty here.
No, that's okay.
He wants me so badly. But yeah, with this one, we did hold to the script a lot, and that's good. That's
Mhm.
to me, that's an exercise. For sometimes it's not like that, and it's fun to do a lot of improv. But certainly, with this one, we had to pretty much stay on book. Yeah. So
Well, how long did you have to shoot? I imagine it must have been a limited schedule then?
yeah, I think the whole thing was shot in a month,
Mm,
which is
okay.
not terrible. I mean, I've
Right.
shot movies in 10 days. That's insane. I've done it. And but this one was like a month. And then
Mhm,
this just before the pandemic, really, I went back in to do some of the voiceover
mhm.
for some of the voice.
Yeah.
And so it took them about a year to post it, I guess. It's about a normal amount of time for a feature. And yeah, so and then we did actually another couple days, I forgot, in the studio
Mm,
somewhere else out near San Diego for the things inside the pictures.
sure. Mhm.
Yeah, because that was all done, the special effects studio. And that was very interesting too. And we had a good time with that. Hi, kitty cat.
What's the cat's name?
This is Mikey, and then his
Mikey.
brother, who's twice his size, is Benny. Yeah, he's very persistent, very in love, with me. So,
No, not
but
yeah,
he's obsessed with me.
That's I understand. We were a cat owner. Unfortunately, ours, passed away a while back, but yeah, I completely understand cat attitudes, so
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, it's
Getting over the cat thing, that's a big one.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
you
a cat person. Yeah.
you don't really realize, just how much they were always there till they're not, so it's always, don't mean to bring down the interview, but yeah,
Yeah.
I completely understand persistent cats,
Oh, yeah, they're funny. They're just they're people think, "Oh, they're so aloof." Oh, no. They're always here.
they they make their presence known, especially when they want something, so,
Yeah,
uh,
like food. And
like
they like beat each other up till I get it to them because they know I don't like it when they fight.
mhm. They
"Well, we're
definitely
gonna beat you."
they do love food.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you've had a active career, a lot of indie TV stuff and that, and you've also done some writing and direction. Did you enjoy that? Would you be looking into doing maybe more direction at some point? Because,
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I
mhm,
mean, I've been writing for several years, and with the writing, things
mhm,
came really nicely. I was very well received with my writing. The directing thing, I've done 3 things now, and they've all been incredibly well received. I'm going to my last one I released during right before the pandemic. I was 3 weeks into festival, and then everything
yeah.
happened. But it won like 40 film awards, and it got worldwide distribution on it's on Prime. It's on video on demand very soon on video on demand. It's on Prime now worldwide, and it's called Wives of the Skies. And I would
Oh,
hope people will go watch that. But I do love writing and I do love directing,
mhm.
and I'll be directing a feature next year in 2021 called Rifle Doll, which is a western, like a pulp westerny noir film that I'm co-writing with a wonderful writer named John Nickum, and it's going to be shot in Kansas City.
Oh,
So
fun.
yeah,
We
it should
need
be fun.
we need more westerns. Are you a fan of the western or?
Yes, I love westerns. I
Mhm,
love being in them. I've been in a couple westerns.
mhm,
I love them. I'm not a horse person, but I like the genre a lot,
mhm,
and this was this is exciting for me.
mhm,
I can't say that I'm not. It's not my absolute favorite genre, but it's right up there,
mhm.
and I think it's going to be lovely. I'm going to have the same wonderful cinematographer that I did for Wise of the Skies, who's like my soulmate, and I'm very excited he's going to be on there. It's going to be beautiful to look at, and it's got a nice sort of exploitation quality about it. So I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, a little, because I'm in new territory.
Mhm.
It's going to be fire, and there's going to be things. It's like, holy crap! But but they know how to do it in Kansas City. A lot of
Mhm,
westerns have been done there, and my John Nickum, the co-writer, is also a producer on it, and he's an amazing producer.
mhm.
So I I uh, I feel really like I'm in good hands there. So that's the thing. You have to surround yourself with like the greatest people,
Mhm.
and and that's really makes for a wonderful product. So
Yeah, I could see that because you want people that you can gel with, but also the talent as well.
gosh, I tell you, I have to say it. It's like you have to have people around you who are so good,
Mhm.
who it's there's no other way to do it, and a good cast and things like that. But I I'm not sure about the casting yet. I think I'll be able to bring a few people from LA,
Mhm.
not too many. It's not a huge cast or anything. It's not a total minimalist film, but
Sure.
it's pretty small cast because we have to be smart about that right now.
Mhm.
And when we do it, if COVID is still an issue, we're going to have to create a pod with these people and make it very safe. Otherwise, I'm not, you know, not interested. It's not worth it. So there's a way to do it and to get people committed to do it properly and safely. So
Yeah, that is important nowadays. It has that I imagine that has kind of thrown the extra, wrench in the works with the COVID, trying to make sure you keep things safe, yet still make the material you wanna make or either star in.
yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Some people are surfing it better than others. I will say my union is Screen Actors Guild, and they have guidelines, but I got to tell you, they're guidelines. It doesn't
Right.
mean they have. Yeah, it's just a guideline.
Mhm.
So you really have to know what your producers are going to do as an actor, for example,
Mhm.
because you're the one taking as a performer. You take off your mask, and that's an issue. So it's some hard decisions.
Right.
Is worth the relative risk? When they test people 3 days ago, something happened 2 days ago. I mean, so as a performer on that end of it, it's it's a it's a hard decision to make as you move
Mhm.
forward and decide what you want to do.
Right.
If you're just a hired person like that,
Now
yeah.
now, the Sweet Taste of Souls, you finished that just before all of this, correct? I mean.
Got it. Yeah, we shot it, and then the voiceover part was like 30 days before the lockdown, maybe 40 days. I mean, we
Sure.
didn't know.
Right.
And looking back on that, it was like, did we really sit in a tiny studio next to each other with me screaming on everybody and in this tiny little, voice studio? And yeah, I can't even believe that. And it was just weeks later that the whole everything shut down. So I'm
Yeah.
just, oh my God, we didn't get sick.
Well, that is a good thing, and, I'm looking forward to you directing because I think we definitely need more, female directors out there. I mean, A Sweet Taste of Souls was, directed,
Yeah.
by Terry Ross. You mentioned the script. Did they have a heavy female cast, or was it a good mix? I mean, for the, crew, I should say.
Oh,
Um,
it was a good mix,
mhm,
really. It was a good mix. It's like my attitude is this. The first film I did, I used a female director of photography,
mm,
and I thought she was fabulous. She's wonderful. But I really I really just go with who I think is sort of the best person for each job. I know it's like been approached by people like, let's just do this an all female production. I'm like, I don't know, you know, I don't know if that's the right thing to do
Mhm.
because it's really you want to do who's best for the job. That's me.
Right.
And some people think that's not politically correct, but I don't care because it's like I'm on the line here. This my DP now. It's his name is Davey
Mhm.
Robertson. I'm telling you, I don't want to work with anybody else if
Sure.
I can help it. So I'm very invested in him staying well during this COVID.
You're calling him up, wrapping him in plastic, you know?
I'm like, dude, I'm always giving him the like. He must think I'm like his mother at this point, but I am.
Well, you've had just a great career, and like I said, I hope you didn't mind me bringing up that I saw you in the Vice Academy films, you
I
know?
love that. I got to tell you the greatest story. I love that you know Vice Academy.
Mhm,
Those were the funnest movies to make.
mhm.
The gentleman who directed them, Rick Sloan, I think he's a genius. He's like got that John Waters kind of craziness about him, but that's just who he is. And oh my gosh, he called me into an audition 100 years ago, and I'm looking at him, and he goes, "Don't you remember me? We went to junior high school together." I'm like, "What? I don't remember." I'm like, "Oh my god, I hope I was nice to him," because I don't think I was. And just, when you're 13,
Yeah.
it's just mean girls. And he's so talented.
Mhm.
So I'm like always saying, Rick, why aren't you making more movies now? He says, because the kind of humor I had back then would not fly anymore. When you look, it was very sexist. I'm like, oh, okay. So much fun to do those kind of films.
Mhm.
And we had like very big fans in the prison population, we're very popular there. Great, great series.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
miss it.
Well,
It
one of my, fellow crew members who are on the podcast often, Scott Davis, he just loves I mean, he's a huge fan of
the Vice Academy.
the Vice Academy films.
What was so great about those movies is that Rick, he hired the leads. They were all porno actresses
Mhm.
wanting to do mainstream or movies that weren't pornography.
Sure.
They did Rick's movies because they were just high comedy, a little bit of nudity, not too much. Everything was really innocent. It was
Mm.
like G rated. Not really, because somebody might be topless, but I was just like, uh, this that was a brilliant move. And these actresses were kind of good.
Mhm.
I was like, wow. And then the rest of us were actors. None of us were porn people. And we gave ourselves sort of porn names. Like, I don't know if you're aware of that. When I did those movies, I called myself Honey Smacks, which was like SMAXXX. Just because I was like, oh, that's funny. Let's do that. Now looking back on it, I'm like, yeah. IMDb page, it's Honey Lauren, also known as Honey Smacks, and all these things. I'm like, yeah, this one was not thought through. Who would have known? Like, one day I'll die, Honey Smacks, oh, Honey Smacks passed away.
Well, it was a good idea at the time, and you had
At
fun,
the
so,
time,
right? You
who knew there'd be something called an internet to follow you around? Who
and
knew?
and actually, it's kinda good, uh, I think about back too when I was younger that it's good that there wasn't an internet because it just
Yeah,
there's some things I just, that's I'm good, you know?
you should not remember that. I know. Oh my gosh, it's so silly. What a crazy world. But they catch up to you. Now, I mean, I'm really happy about the Honey Smacks thing, but
Mhm.
I do get grief from it. I do. And it's funny that you knew who I was anyway. So I think they merged my Honey Smacks page and my
Mhm.
Honey Lauren page together. So on IMDb.
Yeah, the joys of IMDb, but, I
Yeah.
mean, you've been on, smaller productions and bigger productions and that is each experience different for you, or, do you like the smaller productions where it's a little more intimate, or
Um, every time it's different every time. It's
Mhm.
so funny. You can do a tiny film or a tiny project of any kind, and it's some of them are so professionally well done. And then, the opposite could happen too if you're on a big budgeted thing, a studio thing, and it feels like, God, this feels like the Wild West out here. Like, where's our protection? Where's this? Where's that? It just feels crazy. It doesn't, it feels a little chaotic. And so it can go either way. As a rule, obviously, the bigger jobs you get, the better things are. You got a nice dressing room, things like that. And you know that you're not going to be worried about that check coming.
Sure.
You know, so there's, but you know what? I've had a few crazy things happen on bigger projects too. So
Mhm.
in general, of course, we all want to do things with a better budget, just because we also know they'll be finished. So
It's
that's a
always
big,
that's always a big thing, right? An important thing of will it be finished?
yeah. I can't tell you how many films I have done, sadly, that never got finished. It's like, really, what happened? Oh, that's too bad. I feel bad for the filmmakers. They put a
Yeah.
lot money into it and for whatever reason. And I mean, things like that happen, that they do. And for the most part, they do get finished, but it's always, or they might get finished like 4 years later. It's like, wow, where did that come from? I had something come back like years later when my name was still Honey Goldberg, Honey Gay Goldberg.
Wow.
And like, there's Honey Gay Goldberg. I'm like, what the what? Oh my God, I forgot about that film.
Yeah, I know a few indie filmmakers where they've worked on a project and it took like it's ridiculous. It take like 8 years for the film to be finished. 6 years, It's like wow, and I think people don't realize that like especially I mean, because now, especially the bigger productions, they're like 18 months, the Hollywood productions, they seem to be like just cranking them out. But the indie stuff, I think people don't realize that some of these films, like you mentioned, are like 4 years old.
Yeah, it just takes time, and money. People run out of money and then they go back to it. And you hear these stories all the time. Most of the time, like 90% of things I do don't happen like that. But once
Mhm.
in a while, there is something that's like, gosh, that's the one that got away, or I feel bad that guy never got to finish his film, or whatever. It does happen.
And speaking of financing for your Western, are you going to be doing funding, or do you have backing for it already?
Well, the gentleman in Kansas City has a lot of connects in
Mm.
Kansas City.
Mhm.
And if we're going to shoot it there, and shooting there is not like shooting here. It's not. It's like here, it's ridiculous to get. You have to. It's a whole art to just get
Mhm.
your location in a way that you can afford it. Over there, we're going to be given a lot of stuff. So in that sense, we do have a lot of goods and services there, and we have locations there, and the money will probably all come from there as well.
Oh,
I mean, the
okay.
balance of the money, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not a producer on
Mhm.
this, although I may act as one to some extent, but that's not my deal. I have produced. It's the most thankless job, and I never want to do it again. I can do it. I'm pretty good at it, but I don't want to do it again.
I, I I've heard of that from a lot of people who said, "Yeah, producer, I could do it. I don't want to do it. Nope."
I don't want anything to do with it. And but you kind of end up doing it anyway. That's the
Mhm.
thing. And John loves it. He loves producing. I'm just like, good for you, dude. Do it. And so he's all about that. And aside from being a wonderful writer, but he definitely loves the production side of it. And I think though that it's a whole different world out there. You
Mhm.
know, things are, it's just ways that I can't imagine it'll be easier. I mean, here, if I want to shoot in this room, I own this house.
Mhm.
If I want to shoot in this room, I have to get a permit. I could get shut down if I don't have one. I probably won't. But if that neighbor decides to shut me down and I don't have a permit, it's my house. I own it. I need a permit. This is
Wow.
LA. That's crazy.
That is crazy. I know. Here in Wisconsin, if you want to shoot in a park or on a public street, you just got to let the cops know, hey, I'm going to be here this day and shoot. But you don't need to do a permit or anything. You just
Yeah.
in the public parks you can shoot because I was or even on the street. But they do. appreciate if you let them know, so they don't get phone calls like someone's in a, oh my god, someone's in a mask running down the street.
That's amazing. We don't have that here. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, that is how hard it is to shoot here. So that level of stress will be gone. On
Sure.
my guys, I had a moment in one of our locations where this guy was determined to shut us down, and
Mhm.
through intimidation, through all kinds of things. And I remember it was on me whether we would come back the next day. And I'm like, oh, we're going back because by the time he gets us shut down, we'll be done. For the very last shot, he was like freaking out because he thought we were gone the next
Mhm.
day, and we weren't. And it was like, just shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. And but I'm like, that kind of stress. It's like, I need that.
Now,
Yeah,
now, have you shot in a lot of different states across the
I
US?
I've shot in all many states,
Mhm.
and it's different everywhere. We have right to work states, as you know,
Right.
like Wisconsin's right to work. I shot in Miami, in Florida, and that was a right to work state. Now I shot in Arizona, right to work state, but it was all union, and so that was good. But I mean, there there are different rules everywhere.
Yeah.
Places Southwest, they're all right to work. LA is not, as well as New York is not. I don't
Mhm.
believe, but there are different rules everywhere. For the most part, you would just have the union states and the right to work states. Now, places like right to work, they still will union up for the most part, but it can get a little tricky. I can, go to Texas. It's like, okay, there's going to be certain things that are happening there that maybe they can get away with, like a longer day, a shorter turnaround time, things like that, without paying you. Here's the thing, though, I did notice this. If you are working in a right to work state on a union project, your union rep will be on the set with you, which is like, thank you. They're because they know
Sure.
that there's a lot that could happen, and they're trying
Right.
to be groovy. So the only difference is you have a lot less crew that are union, and
Mhm.
that's okay. I mean, union is great, and it's also really expensive. So
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think another aspect that people don't realize that it's different from state to state. I think they think you could just show up. Oh, you pick your location. Here you go ahead and shoot. And there's a lot of other factors involved.
there are, but I tell you, it's easier anywhere than anywhere else in the world. It's easier to shoot than LA, and probably New York is a little difficult because I remember when I was there when we were shooting, they kept having to move the trucks every few hours. So it's like, what? Where's the truck? Okay. So, and I felt bad because though they hire people that are parkers.
Hmm.
They literally park the truck. Oh, get up and move the truck. So that was a thing, but it was overall easier, cheaper to shoot there,
Hmm.
apparently, than it was to shoot in LA. So
See, and you would think that would be opposite thinking. You're in LA, the movie capital, and they make it harder to shoot than here in the middle of Wisconsin.
and they throw this stuff called tax credits around. Okay, well that's good. So let's say you shoot in Detroit and they have a 40 uh, percent tax credit or something crazy like that. You do all your posts there. Everything happens in Detroit, right? So you get the highest tax break possible. Uh, but what could happen is sometimes that happens and then they don't come through with
Hmm.
the tax credit. And you go, oh, it's like they run out of money. So, and then we're out in here in LA where you would think they would give us a great tax,
Right.
incentive to do tax incentive to do it here. And yes, it's happening more and more, but it's not like the norm. Most of the time people don't have the tax incentive here to do it. Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't.
with all that in mind,
Yeah.
what advice would you give a say specifically a female filmmaker out there who kind of wants to get into it, start exploring filmmaking either in front or behind the camera? What advice would you have for them?
I would say just do it. Just make content because
Mhm.
right now, um, because of all the different platforms and particularly because of the pandemic, people are their eyes are on the internet.
Mhm.
I mean, they're really on it. And I'd say if you really want to be a director, start making your own content and try to be great to direct somebody, not necessarily your own stuff.
Mhm.
But it's like learn how you learn by doing.
Mhm.
And that's not an easy thing to do. Things are expensive to make. I don't Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so much cheaper now to make a movie than it used to be." Well, yeah, but it's still really expensive to make a movie. So one of the things is just keep moving with it.
Mhm.
Look, I'm not a camera person and I make my own content. I do
Mhm.
for auditions and things like that. Today I had to do a callback for a commercial and I had to like light the whole thing and shoot it myself and I didn't do a good job on it. I mean,
Mhm.
the performance was just fabulous, but the look, I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't know how to light." And so, but e and as a director, you shouldn't have to know how to do every single thing.
Mhm.
But now, especially now that this whole thing is happening on the planet, is now's the time to just play. Just get out your phone and I don't love watching movies that are shot on cell phones, but I do think if even if you direct a scene,
Mhm.
and put it out on TikTok or whatever, and I think that's a great thing to do. It's fun.
And I'm with you on that. I had heard that just before pandemic, the trend of, "Oh, let's do vertical theaters," and I'm just like, "Oh, come on, really?"
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I'm not really a fan of all that, but I do see there's value there.
Mhm.
I really do. And now's the time to do it because guess what? The industry's eyes are on that.
Sure.
They really are because look, I worked with a director. I made a commercial last year and it got picked up again this year. Him and I became friends because
Mhm.
of we worked together and him and I are on the phone all the time. And he's like, I don't know how to make an inexpensive movie because all he does is spend millions a day on a commercial.
Sure.
I'm just like, ugh, dude, I can make 5 movies for what we spent today on that commercial. I mean, features. And so he's coming to people like me to talk to him about it. There's something of value there because that's where we're at right now. And and now's the time to get the content out there because
Well,
people are watching.
people are hungry with it. They're trapped at home. They can't go to the theater, so, "Oh, just click this." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think the most important thing, I'm still a story person.
Mhm.
Have a good story. That's my deal. Have a really great story. And that's so important.
I have seen big budgeted Hollywood films that didn't have a great story, and so at the end of the day, I was like, "It was okay."
Right. Like, or they got it up there. That's my favorite line. They got it up there on the screen, but yeah, you go away, you don't think about it.
Mhm.
I love creating like a whole world when I with my films. It's like a world is created, and
Mhm.
it's that's the funnest part. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of pre-production, like months and months. But this obsession it pays off at the end. It really does.
Eh Bring it
Yeah.
back around to your, Sweet Taste of, Souls, you have that where, I mean, it's an indie film, but it's
Yeah.
got a great story, and you've got talented people, involved in it, and where no, it didn't make it to the big screen, but I'd watch that more times than some big Hollywood pictures that I've watched because they put me to
Wow.
sleep, and this one, this felt like it was taken right from Tales from the Crypt. So
That's so cool. I love that reference. Someone else said that to me
Mhm.
recently, and I thought that's incredible. And I think that I was just hired on this as an actress. I didn't write it, produce
Mhm.
it, direct it, nothing. And I'm going to pass that on to them because they're responsible for that. And they did create a world. I must
Mhm.
say they did. And I'm really proud of them for that. And being compared to like Tales of the Crypt, that's a beautiful reference.
Yeah, I would say, you could almost have Tales from the Crypt present that, have the Crypt Keeper and everything. So,
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I agree with you.
yeah.
Thank you so much, and I'm
Well
let him know you said that, Mark.
well,
He'll be glad to hear that because it's a huge compliment. That's like that is the roots of all this
sure.
stuff.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk to me, honey.
Oh,
This has been a blast, much a pleasure. And, now where can people follow you? Do you have stuff on the social media where people can follow on your latest project, keep up to date for when your Western, finally hits the scene?
yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook,
Mhm.
Honey Lauren, Lauren, and then let's see, I'm on Instagram. same name, Honey Lauren. And I'm on Twitter, Honey Gay. Gay is my middle name, HoneyGay. I also have a website, just honeylauren.net.
Mhm.
And somebody bought up honeylauren.com. It's a whole thing. So honeylauren.net, and they can always find me there, or message me on any of these platforms. So people can always find me. And of course, IMDb, I have all my reps and everybody on there. So people, I'm pretty easy to find.
Well, I mean,
That's all up
worst comes to worst, you could possibly buy Lauren Honey Smacks. So
there. Isn't that funny? Did you get that I was Honey Smacks back then? I think you must have. Of course, if you were a fan of that movie. Yeah, of those movies. I really wish that Rick Sloan could make some more movies. I really do. Like, it's not gonna happen, honey. It's not gonna happen. But it's so funny because even from back then, I'm still friends with Jay Richardson,
hmm
who, oh my God, he's so fabulous. He's still working like crazy, and he looks exactly the same. So funny. What a talented man he is. I must say, I'm so crazy about him. So, right before the pandemic hit, I was at a commercial audition and I recognized him immediately when he walked in. I was like, it's Jay Richardson. Oh my God, I'm such a fan. And, so we're in contact still, and he's out there working. So I wish Rick could make another movie. We'll see. Maybe he will.
You never know. Things may turn around. He might be able to tailor it for a 2020 audience. You never know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I,
I was so, like, baffled when he said it's not the kind of movies people see. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, he gets so much crap for what he did.
well, thank you very much, Honey. I appreciate this quite a bit. And yeah,
Pleasure. Really a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I
you bet.
appreciate it.
And give my love to your cats for sure.
I will. I'll tweet. And take care of yourself and be safe out there. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you. You too. And yeah, when your western's done, I'd love to talk to you again about that. So
My pleasure. And go see Wives of the Skies on Prime. I'll send you a link.
I'll definitely check it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You
Take
bet.
care.
Bye now.
All right. Bye bye.